welcome to the Saturday Morning Nerd Show. I'm your host, Marcus Blake, and joined with me, as always, is the Brewing Sailor, Mr. Brendan Smith.
Morning, everybody.
And from the Electric Jellyfish Podcast, Mr. Chad Womack.
Morning, guys. I'm just enjoying some fine literature.
Well, as you can tell, it is a big week. It is Star Wars week. It is the 45th anniversary of Star Wars, and it's also Star Wars Celebration. So there's a lot of news coming out, and we're going to discuss that in a bit in the last half of our show. So we have a lot to talk about. I tell you what, there's just something about Memorial Day weekend between the anniversaries of Star Wars Celebration, big movies. There's just a lot going on. And that's a reason we pushed our podcast to this weekend, so we would actually have something to talk about instead of last week where we were twiddling our thumbs.
Now we have all the things.
Yes.
We have all the things. And yes, for everybody out there, yes, I am wearing a Liverpool scarf because we do like sports, and they are in the Champions League final. Brendan and I are Liverpool supporters, and we'll be rooting them on. And that's the only sports announcement we have.
And plus, you're a slave to trends. You're just a scarf.
I am. You know, I just thought this would look good with my Baby Yoda shirt.
Oh, I'm sorry. I shouldn't say that you're a fire spray one to trends. I'm sorry.
Ooh.
Fair enough.
Did I say that out loud? I'm sorry, Brendan.
And the jokes are already happening. And, you know, cool little Iron Man. Like, yeah, I got a really cool gift this past week. A huge Iron Man coffee mug. It's great for coffee and milk.
I still think my favorite cosplay mashup I've ever seen was a guy in a red and yellow chef's uniform with the arc reactor on his chest and gloves and a Iron Man mask, and he was the Iron Chef.
Nice. That'll work too. So anyway, like I said, it's Star Wars week and lots of stuff going on. We're going to get to Star Wars news a little bit later and put it up and talking about everything. So just bear with us on that. All right. First things first. We are going to start with this week's Sign of the Apocalypse. We have quite a few things to talk about. Chad, you had one. Go first.
Yeah, and I hate to start on a downer, but I lost an icon of my youth this week, which seems to be happening more and more frequently nowadays. But one of the founding members and keyboard players of one of my favorite groups of all time, Depeche Mode, lost their keyboardist the other day, Andrew Fletcher, at the age of 60, way too young. Yeah. They have not released a cause or anything like that, but and ironically, I mean, kind of dovetailing into the other Sign of the Apocalypse that I had in mind originally was that we lost a great Ray Liotta on the same day.
Yeah, so, we were going to mention that. I'm glad you brought that up.
Alan White, the longtime drummer of Yes, also died.
That's true. Yes.
It's been kind of a sucky week on top of all the Star Wars stuff, but Ray Liotta, that was very, very surprising because he's always popping up and stuff, always working.
Talk about a guy that would have made a great smuggler in Star Wars.
Oh, God, yes.
Joke. And can anyone remember a downtime in his career? I can't. I really can't. Man,
I can remember times where he went underappreciated. For example, his character Figgis in Copland, because Copland did not get the love it deserved at the theaters. Copland is an amazing movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
with a ridiculous cast. Probably Stallone's best. I believe Stallone directed that.
Yes, he did,
as well as starring in it.
I think he did. I think he wrote it, but he didn't direct it.
I'll do the research. I'll keep talking.
We need the IMDb on that one. But the fact that he gained 25 pounds to do that role, you know, and he had just been known for
James Mangold that directed it, who actually I think is directing Indy 5, isn't he?
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, you are absolutely right. It is one of the most underappreciated movies. It's actually outside of Rocky and, you know, Rambo and everything. It is literally my favorite Stallone movie. And everybody, I mean, you think about the huge, fantastic cast that had been in mob movies across the board. Like it's an all-star team of just mobsters, cops, and just amazing actors. So, yeah, but his character Figgis, man, great. And and Robert Patrick was also amazing in that movie.
That cast was stupid good.
Yeah, I mean,
you got Frank Vincent and Edie Falco from The Sopranos were in it, and Frank Vincent was in Goodfellas with Ray Liotta as well.
Yeah. So I mean, but yeah, kind of a funny little thing that Ray Liotta did. I mean, everybody always knows him from he played Show in Field of Dreams, but
Goodfellas.
Or Goodfellas, yes, I get that. But I liked when he popped up in sitcoms, just shows that I like to watch. And here's a good example. I never got into Modern Family when it was on TV, but I finally went back and binged watched everything now that's on Hulu. And I understand the appeal. I love the one where he's trying to get Barbra Streisand to come out and meet Cam, or not Cam, or the other one. I can't remember the character's name. And trying to throw like, oh yeah, I totally know Barbra Streisand. I can get her autograph for you. And he can't. So it's making you think that he's not as big of an actor. And then the younger kids are like, who's Ray Liotta? Have we seen anything with him in it? But he played that very well and kind of made fun of himself. But anyway, that's just another great one we lost this week. So anyway, Brendan, you founded this week's Sign of the Apocalypse.
From the files of what the hell did she just say? Insider is reporting that Kourtney Kardashian says a doctor told her to drink Travis Barker's semen 4 times a week to help with thyroid levels. I'm going to go out on a limb and just say she's just making shit up so she doesn't sound like a slut.
Was the doctor's last name Barker by any chance?
All right.
I was just scrolling through Twitter and came to a dead stop when I saw that.
Okay. So for those of you out there that are wondering why we've mentioned something about the Kardashians, let's put this into perspective. The only time that we are talking about the Kardashians is when we make fun of them. Okay.
Yes.
There's no other reason to talk about them. They're not important.
And they are generally by their existence worthy of being mocked, but this takes it to another level.
Right. Here's the sadness of why they're popular and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Now, granted, I will give Kim Kardashian this. If you want to fight for justice reform and go meet the president or whatever, that's fine. I'm all about celebrities doing good causes. I just don't need you to be on TV talking about them. I don't fucking care. You're not credible. Okay, Sean Penn. Anyway, but that's a whole nother can of worms. If your claim to fame is your dad was O.J. Simpson's best friend and represented him and then later said, I think he did it, and then you became famous again from a sex tape and you built $1 billion empire out of it, what the fuck is wrong with society?
One thing that I always recall,
to quote Nick Cage's character Cameron Poe from Con Air, my first guess would be a lot.
One thing that always jumps out at me, you remember whenever they did that when the American Horror Story people started doing the American Crime Story, when they did the one about OJ, and and David Schwimmer played Rob Kardashian. The very first episode of that series, they were trying to get into like a swanky Beverly Hills restaurant, and Kim and Chloe were little kids and shit at this phase, and they weren't going to let them in, and they looked at him and said, well, Dad, just tell them who you are. Just tell them you're Rob Kardashian. She goes, no, kids, we won't use our names that way because the Kardashian name will always stand for something. And I'm like, there's no way he said that. There's no way he actually said that in that moment.
No. And by the way, I'm sorry. When you say your name's going to stand for something,
more like lie down for it.
He said we'll always stand for integrity.
It's more like it's going to lie down for it.
Right. I'm going back to the sex tape. So you were standing up when you made the sex tape.
Yeah. He actually said it will always stand for integrity. And I'm like,
right.
Which, by the way, I stole that line from the Golden Girls.
There is nothing wrong with that. There's a lot.
That was a Blanche joke directed at Blanche by Dorothy.
Yes, we are old enough to reference the Golden Girls.
She was like, I won't stand for this. And what was the mom's name? Estelle Getty. I can't remember the character. Sophia. Sophia goes, take it away, Dorothy. And Dorothy just goes, no, but you'll lie down for it.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. But anyway, moving on from the Kardashians. Oh my God. This week's episode of How They Are Literally Stupid and Ruining Society. Anyway, the other this week's side of the apocalypse, which leads into one of our big discussions this week, is we finally had the release of the Top Gun sequel. And I should say that I've doubted this sequel ever existed for a couple of years with all the delays. It does not, as many people have seen the movie now. But I think this week's Side of the Apocalypse is we got a sequel and they didn't ruin it. They didn't ruin the magic of the first one. It's actually good.
I actually think it's better.
I still go with the original personally, but I think it's just as good.
Well, I think from a technical standpoint, from a cinematography standpoint, I think it's much better.
Oh God!
Because if you look at the dogfight scenes from the first one, there are so many editing mistakes. Like if you sit there and actually pay attention and critically break down, you're like, wait, that plane was in a completely different position, and it hasn't had time to actually move to that position.
Right.
So. The editing in this was much better, and of course it helps when the guys are actually up in F-18s. So I mean, look, are these movies high cinema? No, they're basically 2-hour recruiting commercials for the United States Navy, and as a veteran I'm okay with that. Right. But it's just I really enjoyed it. I mean all the same tropes are there from the first movie, right, to the second movie, but I just think they do an overall better job with the second movie. I think it's better shot. I think the acting is a little bit better. I think I love. Did anybody notice who Jennifer Connelly's character really is?
Yeah, she's the Admiral's daughter.
Yeah, from the first one. A lot of people were like, "Who is that chick?" I'm like, "She's the Admiral's daughter."
Yeah, and you throw that story in there about she is Tom Cruise's true love, on and off again. They have history, and will they finally get together? And it's romantic in a way. But I still like the original story because I like Cold War stuff. Okay, but at the same time, I agree with you that the acting was great. I mean, the way they shot this movie far surpasses the original. Okay. But I mean, again, you can say that the way they shot The Force Awakens is better than the way they shot, A New Hope because of better technology. Not necessarily a better story, but I think this story, I think it's just as good. And I think it plays into this is what warfare is today. We're not doing dogfights with Russian MiGs, from 30 years ago.
So I have an interesting question on this. Since they never actually named the country that they went to go bomb, who is your like, if you had to pick the country of that is for, $50 bet?
Well, I still say it's, I don't know. Well, uranium. I mean, obviously they're kind of making a dig towards Russia, but I don't know.
It has to be Iran. Rogue state, a nuclear treaty that's gone away, and they had F-14s. we sold F-14s to the Shah of Iran in the 1970s, and they still have a couple of them, even though they probably don't fly.
Well, the only reason I don't know if that's true is the terrain. I mean, it doesn't look like Iranian terrain, but whatever. I mean, I don't think you need to name the enemy.
I just thought it was an interesting little, like, who really was it?
Yeah, it's the U.S. making a dig towards a country without actually having to name them. Sure, whatever. All I know is the aerial footage of that final mission is incredible with what, they have to do. And everything that you love about the original, I mean, it's there. It's a great love letter to, Navy aviators, the old dogs who are, as they say in the beginning of the movie, your kind is heading for extinction. And it is very true. You don't have, the dogfights and the things that you're going to get into from the Vietnam into the Cold War area, that's not the way we do things. And they want unmanned planes and blah, blah, blah. But I like the fact that they point out that it does come down to the pilot themselves. And it very much reminded me of The Right Stuff when they're trying to figure out, well, all we got to do is send a monkey up into space. And, I love the old woman bartender. Yeah, but someone's got to pilot that, space can. And they're called a pilot, and I think that's what Maverick represents with everybody else, is you still have to do that. And it is, at the end of the day, a dogfight. It's your skills against the other guy's skills. So, but yeah, I so many times they try to make a sequel from some nostalgic movie we had back in the 80s, and they don't necessarily deliver. I don't think the latest Rambo movies are any better than Rambo, First Blood Part 1 and 2. We can pretty much agree that the last Indiana Jones movie is nowhere compared to the first three, and the fifth one probably won't be as good. But
yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, we're going to see it. However,
the trepidation factor is strong with that one.
How many times has there been sequels that have had gaps that big between the previous chapter and the newest chapter where they stuck the landing? It's a really rare beast. I mean,
I was gonna say I can't even think of one offhand.
I can think of one off the top of my head.
Which one?
I can think one. Blade Runner 2049.
But financially successful. That thing fell on its face.
Well, and not only that, but Blade Runner itself, while considered a classic, was not financially successful at the beginning. And even among its fandoms, people argue about which is the definitive version because there's like 8 different fucking cuts of that movie.
People, including the director, argue over the definitive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but when you find Blade Runner on streaming services, they usually have the final cut now.
Yeah, it's true.
Just like HBO Max got rid of the theatrical version of Batman versus Superman. Now it's the Ultimate Edition. Mm-hmm. So, but if you're looking at a movie that is just as good, and has a great connective tissue to the original, Blade Runner 2049, I gave it a perfect 10. There was nothing about that movie that I didn't love. The pacing, it was beautiful. Harrison Ford was great. So, to me, that's the definitive one.
I can think of 2. I just thought of another one. First and foremost, Fury freaking Road. Mad Max Fury Road. I have watched over and over, and it blows my mind every time I watch it. I've watched Blade Runner 2049 once, and I love Blade Runner. And I was no fan of Mad Max, but I could watch Fury Road on a loop. That thing is a clinic as far as using practical effects, and it's just mind blowing to me how great that movie was. Just unexpectedly great.
I'll give you that it's good, and I mean, the last 2 before that, Mad Max and Thunderdome, I mean, I think are amazing movies to begin with, but I think they did a great job with it and captured the magic, and Tom Hardy, made a great Mad Max.
Mm-hmm. The other one that I will harken back to is the same guy that directed Top Gun Maverick. What brought that director to my attention anyway was Tron Legacy.
Okay, that one I will give you. I will absolutely agree with you on that. You're right. They stuck the landing to that, and I still want a third one to round out the trilogy.
They brought back all the right nostalgia feels. It had it dove into that universe or cyberverse or whatever the freak you want to call it, and
the grid,
and he Kaczynski it's Kaczynski, right? How you pronounce it? Is it Kaczynski? Okay. Somehow made that world relevant again and made it and updated it enough to where it didn't alienate fans of the original film, and all it did was just enhance what was already there.
Okay,
it's another film I can watch over and over again. That scene on the bridge at the end gets me every friggin' time.
So the same guy who directed Tron Legacy just directed Top Gun.
Yes,
Maverick.
Yeah.
Because I think he worked with Tom Cruise on Oblivion.
Yeah,
I think this next film after Tron Legacy was Oblivion.
Sci-fi film too. I really applaud that. It had a really great cast.
And I remember for years they were talking about banning about the idea that they were going to let Kaczynski reboot or remake The Black Hole.
Right. Look,
don't know if that needs to happen or not, but
probably not.
I trust him.
I will give you. I absolutely agree with you about Tron Legacy. I had forgotten about that, which is sad because I actually watched it a few months ago. I love when they keep dropping stuff on Disney Plus that you forget about because it's so you would think it's just Star Wars and Marvel, but then they start throwing in movies like, oh, I hadn't watched that in a while. I wonder how many people have gone back this weekend and watched Willow after they dropped the trailer from Celebration. But
actually the trailer for Willow looked really good.
It looks better than the original film, if you ask me.
Hey.
But
if we're being honest,
and Kaczynski's working on another movie with Miles Teller too, something called Spiderhead. It's going to be with him and Chris Hemsworth, and also Juicy Smollett's sister.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm friends with her on Facebook.
Yeah, that's a Facebook thing. I think it's coming out next month. I'm sure we'll get a screener of it because it looks kind of interesting. But in this reboot and everything, we're not going to mention J.J. Abrams' Star Trek.
Nope.
No, that's a reboot, not a sequel.
I'm just kidding. We never mention those films.
Bite your tongue, sir.
However,
you know the one that probably has the longest gap. What sequel probably has the longest gap between the original and the sequel? Mary Poppins Returns.
You know what? That one was actually pretty good. I got to hand it to Emily Blunt. That's hard to come in and try to replace Julie Andrews in that movie. Liz Casanova and I did a very early screening. They were it's like that was one of those Disney things where we're not really sure if it's going to work. So they did like a screening about 2 months before it came out. And it was one of those that they wanted the studio feedback because they're kind of figuring out how to roll it out. And we both walked away from it as like, you know what? It's not as good as the original, but everybody was great in it. I don't think you needed Meryl Streep doing a song and dance in the movie. However, it captured the magic of the
biggest problem I had with that movie is that Lin-Manuel Miranda's British accent was worse than Dick Van Dyke.
No. It was just as bad as Kevin Costner trying to pull
yeah, that's true.
I
just got stuck in Mary Pulpit. Shut up! You're not convincing me, dude. You're not convincing me at all. Stop it.
With that said about Star Trek, I do want to say this. Can we all just finally acknowledge that Strange New Worlds is the Star Trek we've been wanting for a while? Getting back to what made Star Trek great, episodic episodes that with a great, fantastic cast, and Anson Mount is fucking awesome as Captain Pike. So
yeah, dude's pretty cool.
I don't need any more Star Trek Discovery. Can we just keep doing Strange New Worlds? Just saying. Loving it.
Sadly, they're going to keep milking Discovery.
I know. Oh, well. But anyway, getting back to Top Gun, I kind of laughed. I was laughing with one of the Paramount reps here in town that I love the movie. I really did. Seen it twice. We'll go see it again. But there are times that you have to be a critic. And there were some things that really did annoy me about the movie. But I also want to point out that it's minor nitpicking. It doesn't take away from how good it is, how fun it is. So I want to say these two things. There is a lot, for all the complaints that we have about The Rise of Skywalker being just so much action filled that it doesn't slow down. I kind of felt the same way about the first half of Top Gun Maverick. I'm not taking away from the training scenes or anything. It was, they were great, but there's a lot of action to it. It isn't until about halfway in the movie when you get the scene between Val Kilmer and Tom Cruise that it does slow down and it gets a little bit more emotional. And I thought that was obviously done on purpose. I thought it was done very well. But it's like the first half, you're just off to the races where, hey, here's Maverick. He's in a plane again. He's obviously better than everybody. And you're doing stuff in F-18s that I'm like, I don't think you could really do that. And I'm kind of like, because they had dropped the trailer to Mission Impossible 7, like right before the screening. I'm like, is this Mission Impossible with a jet? But anyway, it's minor nitpicking. It doesn't take away from the movie at all. It's just, there's a lot more action and then it slows down. And then you get to the final mission. The other thing, nothing against Lady Gaga. I am a fan.
Oh boy. Yeah.
However, your Hold My Hand cinematic, the orchestration part of that song kind of works for it. I don't need you singing that song or doing some video where you're dressed as a parachute and you look like you're about to hump a piano on a runway, and it's not, you lost that loving feeling. It just isn't. Quit trying to make it that. It's not a good song. In fact, I would have been like, can we just throw something in from A Star Is Born? Because it really doesn't matter. That movie.
Apparently it's entirely a forgettable song because I don't remember it.
Yeah. I mean, they do it at the end and it's kind of a cool little music video. But
I didn't see that.
Yeah. The soundtrack in the original Top Gun is amazing. Especially the blending of old R&B music. You Lost That Living Feeling. But the only thing that I really praised the soundtrack for is doing the opening of the movie with Danger Zone. And it was very synonymous with the original. It was like, that's awesome. Of course you've got to have Danger Zone in Maverick.
And you got the Faltermeyer anthem, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, you did everything right with that. But the Lady Gaga thing was just completely unnecessary. I'm like, but with that said, very nice juxtaposition and nostalgia with Miles Teller as Goose's son playing Great Balls of Fire in the bar. That was awesome. I'll admit, a little teary-eyed. But no, Lady Gaga, if you wanted to make a music video, then I would have just taken an updated version of You've Lost That Loving Feeling.
Or Take My Breath Away. I mean, wouldn't that...
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Come on. If you grew up in the 80s watching that movie, there isn't a guy out there that's like, I would totally screw a woman to that song.
Dude, you'd screw a woman to Itsy Bitsy Spider. Quit fucking around.
Hey,
That just reminded me of a comedian one time who goes, you know how people have sex to music all the time. He goes, I got curious one time what my parents might have been listening to. I went back to my birth year and I went 9 months back, and 9 months before I was born, the number one song in the nation was the theme song to Davy Crockett. It's like, can you imagine that? Davy Crockett.
Got a beat you can hop to, I guess.
But that guy, every time he sees a coonskin cap, like, ah, this is how I was conceived. Oh my God. You know what's actually kind of funny about theme songs? Little shout out to Ron Howard and stuff, because we all know the story that his children are named after the cities that they were conceived in. You know, Bryce Dallas stuff. Well, what was the most popular show on TV when she was conceived? Dallas. So I'm like, is that theme song playing in the background? Anyway, possibly. With that said, getting again sidetracked here. Top Gun Maverick is amazing. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I gave it a 9 personally. Brendan, what would you give the movie?
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you this time. I'm gonna give it a 9 as well.
This week, Sign of the Apocalypse. Brendan.
That's the sign of the apocalypse. Oh, shit.
We're done. Show canceled. Brendan and I agreed.
Brendan, you're one of the harshest critics I know. That's high praise coming from you.
Oh, gotta love the movie. And 2 more things I want to say about it. One, if you don't get a little teary-eyed, a little emotional at the Val Kilmer, Tom Cruise scene, and they did it very well, dealing with Val Kilmer not being able to speak. I question if you have any soul. It was probably the best scene of the movie. Beyond all the action. Very, very good. And this one's a shout out to my sister who does not like Top Gun, but I got a very funny video from her. Fine, I'm going to see your airplane movie.
That's a different movie altogether.
Yeah. It goes even further back.
Well, like I said,
What happened to the runway lights? Just kidding.
I gotta poke fun at her a little bit because, she has no appreciation for Top Gun. I mean, she obviously didn't see it in the theater like I did with my dad and grandfather, or our dad and our grandfather. But, she's looking at it like, what is this? This is like a total testosterone movie. Okay. All these guys are crying at the end. It's like the Winter Soldier all over again. I'm like, yes, I don't have a problem with this. And why does the theater smell like aftershave? Jeez. I'm like, okay. She walks out, like, okay, well, I enjoyed the third act. It was very good. And by the way, there's something going on between Rooster and Hangman. I know it. It's like, this is Top Gun. If you don't have homoerotic, shirtless beach scenes.
At least the shirtless scene made sense in this. It was a team building exercise. They didn't just shoehorn a volleyball in there so women would have eye candy.
Right.
With a song titled "Playing with the Boys" in the background.
Like, wait, and if you've ever noticed in the movie, that line literally comes across right when Slider is doing like his Heisman.
And I'm sorry if you're not already convinced by the time they're in that freaking first orientation meeting where this gives me a hard on. Don't tease me. I'm like, would you stop? Jesus.
It's like. And by the way, and it's not like Rick Rossovich wasn't like the most ripped actor in the 80s too. Like they focus in on him,
Yeah. It's there's a lot going on. That's one of those things where, well, don't ask, don't tell, but let's have some subtle messages there.
Yeah.
Anyway. But yeah, as she likes to call it, that airplane movie, it's pretty good. And if you haven't seen it yet, get your tickets. You will definitely enjoy it. Well, by the way, I also got to say, I love how they had Ed Harris in there as the Admiral at the beginning of the movie. He was great. That whole like beginning of the movie, I got the first time I saw it, I actually came home and was like, I want to watch The Right Stuff again. Because it has, that very good test pilot vibe to it. Anyway, 2 thumbs up from us. Go see Top Gun. All right. Before we get to Star Wars, we got to get to one more quick important series. Another great one that Brendan and I both love. We can finally talk about it we can finally talk about it in full. Bosch Legacy Season 1. I did the review a few weeks ago, but Brendan, you finally got to the end. What'd you think?
I loved it. I don't think they missed a beat, which is kind of a rare thing for a show to have such a shakeup, to go from where he's a cop to a PI. And
right.
then, and now his daughter is a cop.
Right.
But yeah, I don't think they missed a beat. I mean, I missed some of the characters. Like, I really missed Billets, the lieutenant. I thought she did a great job, but I thought they did a good job of sprinkling in characters from the old show, like when they had Crate and Barrel, who are also retired, helping him with his PI work, and then we get to see Edgar for one episode. Right. So, no, I don't think they missed a beat. I think it was really good. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in season 2, which apparently is going to film sometime this year and will be released early next year.
Yeah.
So,
no, I don't disagree with you. I loved how they picked right back up from Bosch season 7. I love the new guy that he works with that loves jazz music. His tech guy, or as I like to call, he's the oracle of the Bosch universe. Their back and forth was great. Everything really, really works in this. I think one of the things that made this season so much better is Maddie really coming into her own as a cop, trying to figure out what kind of cop that she's going to be. She does have a lot of her dad in her, but at the same, especially with going the extra mile on cases, trying to, how do I say it? People just aren't case numbers, following up on stuff. And for her, I think she kind of has that pull into both worlds. Like, you could see her being just like her mother as a good profiler. But you see a lot of the other people questioning, you have too much empathy as a cop. And, I think that's probably a good thing. So did Bosch, where he was always trying to fight for, the cases that went unsolved. And he's continued to do that. And you see that obviously him going the extra mile with the big case with the billionaire, trying to figure out where his long lost family is. So they didn't change. To me, they didn't really change anything. Bosch isn't a cop, but yet he is, and he's a great private investigator. And I love Mimi Rogers as the lawyer. I mean, you immediately start not liking her because of Bosch, but their relationship over the years, really develops, and not romantically, but, a healthy respect for one another.
Right.
And then it shows in this one. So, in this season, but no, I have no complaints about it. I thought it was good. My only complaint is because, I watched our screeners about a month before it came out, and they hadn't announced the season 2. And I think I even messaged you. It was like, if we don't fucking get a season 2, this is it. I will fry it.
Well, because they do end it on a major cliffhanger.
Yeah, and we're not going to quite give that away.
No, we won't spoil that. But just know that when you get to it, and then you're like, oh my God, there is a major cliff. Just know that they greenlit season 2 before season 1 even aired. Yeah. So you're not going to get screwed over. You're going to get to watch it.
I've had 3 family members who finally finished it. We're like, I get text messages, we do have a season 2. Like, yes, it was greenlit.
Yeah, it was, because they almost had a Star Trek Next Generation season 3 moment there with Best of Both Worlds.
Oh my.
Which people, like, there was Patrick Stewart tells this great story about, he was riding around in a convertible that summer, and people pulled up to him at a light in LA going, "You ruined our summer." And he's like, "I didn't write the script. I just acted it."
We're going to be back. I'm sorry. Oh.
Yeah. So.
No. Yeah. It's amazing too. I mean, the people that have kind of jumped on, maybe jump on the bandwagon isn't the right words, but have kind of fallen in love with Bosch. I mean, it took me years to get into it. Brendan finally convinced me, and I like the first 4 seasons one summer. I was like, you're fucking right. This is awesome. It was kind of a big I told you so moment from him. Like, yeah, see, trust me on this. But so many more people have gotten into it. And again, talking about where they're taking this. Scott and I were talking about it because he's a Bosch fan too. He's always kind of late, our gaming editor, to like Amazon shows. Like he finally got around to watching Reacher, and I got a message from him like, "This is great. I know why you and Brendan loved it."
Reacher is really, really good, and I'm almost shocked it got made in this day and age.
Oh God, yeah.
That's a throwback show to the 90s.
Actually, I want them to deal with people being canceled, and this is not the way we do. And Reacher's like, yeah, I don't care. I have my own moral code, and I'm generally right.
Yeah, like it's gonna be like, yeah, Reacher doesn't even know on a phone. If he got canceled, he wouldn't notice.
Right. So, but yeah. So would you say is this a 9 for you? Is this a perfect 10 for you for Bosch?
I'm gonna stick with a 9. I don't think it was a perfect 10. Just because it's kind of hard to be a perfect 10 when neither of the major storylines has a complete resolution.
Right. That's a good point.
So, I mean, they both storylines are going to go into season 2. So, actually like 3 different storylines are going into season 2. So without any full conclusion, I can't give it a perfect 10 because it's not its own,
right,
complete entity. So I'll stick with a 9.
Right. One of the things that I do like about Bosch is while he broke rules as a cop, he's at the point like, I don't really give a shit anymore. I'm going to break into a guy's house and get stuff. So I almost kind of like him better as a private investigator. One more quick thing I want to mention, just because it is in the Harry Bosch universe, and in case you did not know this, and if you haven't read Michael Connelly's book, the first season of The Lincoln Lawyer dropped on Netflix. 2 things. First, they actually got a Hispanic actor to be Mickey Holler. Nothing against Matthew McConaughey. I kind of enjoyed the movie, but Mickey Holler is actually Hispanic. And for those of you that don't know and much about the universe, yeah, that's Harry Bosch's younger half brother. And a little spoiler, you kind of there's a great connection to that with a flashback scene in season 1 of Bosch Legacy, where he visits his actual biological dad. And
who is a scumbag.
Yeah. So, and that's, he doesn't, I love that. I love the flashback stuff. I thought that was great because you actually get that connection, and I don't know if they would cross paths, if you would actually get that with Netflix and Amazon, but I think if you could make it work, that would be, because I know in the books they do cross paths, and I know Mickey has to defend him on something. And I think that would be kind of cool. But, if you're a fan of The Lincoln Lawyer, they actually start with book 2 of that series for season 1 of the Netflix series. And it's actually, I was pleasantly surprised by how good it is. So I do recommend people to check that out instead. But if you just can't do it because it's not Matthew McConaughey, well, just go watch Lincoln commercials. It's your but anyway.
Yeah, like cooler if you did.
I just drive them because they're cool.
All right. I know Stranger Things dropped at least the first half of season 4. We're not going to talk about it. We'll do a full wrap up once we get everything. But I will give one recommendation just because I've heard people talk about it so far. Yes, it does move a little slow. It will pick up. Don't worry about it. The episodes are longer. They're basically trying to cram 2 seasons into 1 season because this is it. And we'll do what?
I see. My guide heard they're going to do a 5th season for some crazy reason.
No, they announced that 4 seasons was it.
I think what you saw, Chad, I saw an article where somebody was asking them what they would like what the cast would like to see out of a season 5, but I think it was more of a hypothetical than an actual announcement.
Yeah, okay, I think the reason is they had enough storylines for 2 seasons, but they wanted to. That's why they're doing 9 episodes and breaking it up. I mean, they've already announced that the final episode is 2.5 hours long.
Yep.
Well, just as an FYI, there is a placeholder for season 5 on IMDb for Stranger Things season 5.
Well, I mean, this is Hollywood.
I know. Anything can and does happen.
Right. They can always change their mind, but is what it is.
Yeah.
But we'll do a full roundup of that once it's all complete. But in the meantime, if you want to go read the Julie Jones's review on the first 5 episodes, it is up on our website. One more announcement, and then we're going to talk Star Wars. Our May issue of the magazine is out, talking about the 45 years of Star Wars and how it did become the greatest entertainment franchise. Some other stuff that we've done before, a republished article about how The Mandalorian saved Disney Star Wars by Brendan and I is in there. But you can also check out Chad's article about what it was like to see Star Wars in 1977 and Empire Strikes Back in 1980.
Since I'm the only one on the staff that's old enough to remember that shit, apparently.
Yeah, you are. That's okay. But there's a lot of good stuff in there. Allison Costa has a great article about how to introduce your kids to Star Wars, or as I like to call it, really promoting Disney Plus. As she pointed out, depending on their age, Disney Plus has like the perfect kind of age gap, like to slowly get them into Star Wars if they're not old enough yet to see the movies. But she pointed out, it's like, yeah, Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, that's a great little way to get them into it. And then you can go on to the movies and whatnot. But we're not paid spokesmen for Disney Plus, although we should be.
Should be, yeah.
But if
we take bribery, we are not above it at that nerd show.
That's right.
But in fact, we highly encourage it.
But if I have to say one thing about Disney Plus, there is definitely something for everybody on there. And if you're a Star Wars fan, well, you can't go wrong with that. All right, moving right along. Star Wars Celebration is happening this week or weekend. Lots that has come out about it. So here's my first question before we get into our major discussion, a little bit of a debate, because we were having this before the podcast. Brendan, we got the first trailer to Andor. Are you psyched? Are you ready?
I'm actually more excited about Andor than I am about just about any other Star Wars project than Ahsoka. And I know I'm pretty much in the minority when it comes to that. But here's my explanation for that. When I was 5 years old, this is the summer of 1983. I was driving my mom nuts. My sister had just got her driver's license, and my mom tossed her the keys and said, "Get him out of here, take him to a movie." She took me to the Rustic Drive-In on Route 146 in Lincoln, Rhode Island. It's still there. It still operates every summer. And we saw a double feature of Roger Moore as James Bond and Ian Fleming's Octopussy, and Star Wars Return of the Jedi.
Ever.
Jesus.
Okay, that was June of 83. Okay, so they both just come out. This pretty much explains the rest of my life. Been a Bond and Star Wars fan ever since. And so now that you're telling me that we're going to have a spy thriller set in Star Wars during the Rebellion era.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yes.
So I am 100% all in. Plus, let's look at the writing credits of the people running this show. Tony Gilroy, Rogue One, obviously, but also did The Bourne Identity, did The Devil's Advocate. Okay. Now let's look at his partner. I think his name's Steven Schiller. He wrote a little spy thriller called, and it's a favorite of Marcus's, The Americans.
Yes.
Wow.
So could you have any better of a resume to write a spy thriller in Star Wars?
No.
To quote the late great John Panette, I say nay nay.
I say nay nay. That's a hell of a pedigree. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I am super stoked for this. I also loved in the trailer the Mongolian throat singing of a band called The Who, which I'm a big fan of, who did a song for Jedi Fallen Order called Sugan Esena. You can find it on YouTube. It's a really cool song. And they are a Mongolian metal band. They take traditional Mongolian folk music, traditional Mongolian folk instruments, and mix it with American Western heavy metal. And they're pretty badass. They're actually on a US tour this year because their US tour got cut short due to COVID. So I'm really hoping that throat singing is a wink and a nod that maybe we get to see Cal Kestis in live action at some point during Andor. That would be pretty badass, because if you're using music from Fallen Order in the trailer for Andor, to me, that's kind of a hint, wink, nod. So I am very, very excited. Plus, I mean, first of all, when they did Rogue One, the casting for Mon Mothma was spot on. Like, I almost thought, did they cast the same woman and she just aged really well?
Well, it is.
No,
yeah, I mean,
it is a different person, but she's perfect for it. What'd you say?
Genevieve O'Reilly, who played Mon Martha, it was in episode 3.
Yeah, she was in Sith.
Well, yeah, but it's not the same one from Return of the Jedi.
No, obviously.
No.
Yeah. But my point is, if you look quick, you could think. Anyway, Stellan Skarsgård is just an amazing actor, and he's going to be a rebel leader in it, and I'm just really looking forward to it. Plus, I forget the actor's name. I'd have to look it up. But the chief superintendent from Endeavor, the prequel to Detective Morse, and from the BBC, he's playing looks like an Imperial Intelligence Services guy, because he's got the white tunic.
Anton Lesser, is that who you're
Anton Lesser? That's the actor's name. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
He's playing an ISA, probably either colonel or general. So yeah, that looks pretty outstanding. Anyway, sorry, my phone's ringing, but it's the I'm gonna have to call him back. But sorry, it was the Mandalorian theme is my phone ringtone, so that's not too bad anyway.
Not at all.
But yeah, I'm very, very excited for Andor. I think it's gonna be, and it's the longest of any previous Star Wars Disney Plus show. It's 12. Yeah, it's 12 episodes. So
finally.
Yeah, so finally we get, because this like 7, 8 episode stuff, 6, 7, 8 episodes, it doesn't they don't take the time to develop the story. Like Book of Boba Fett, first of all, was all over the place. It was 2 episodes of like flashbacks and present time, which was a mix between Lawrence of Arabia and The Godfather, which I was all in for. And then it was 2 episodes where it turned into the Mighty Morphin Vespa Rangers. And then it turned into 2 episodes of The Mandalorian season 3. And then it was a finale episode, which was just an excuse to use the Rancor when Boba Fett and Mando could have jetted off, grabbed the N1 and grabbed Slave 1 and just laid waste to everything and called it a day.
Well,
so that was very uneven. It was all over the place, and they just didn't have enough time to develop the story. I'm worried about the same things happening with Kenobi, but we'll get that into that later.
I get that. I get that about Book of Boba Fett. I do. It's a great filler story. That's what for people who haven't watched it yet, it's like, look, it's not the greatest thing. It's not The Mandalorian, but it's good filler. I went back and watched it, all back to back. It was like, it's filler.
I just wish they had just dove in on I wish they had continued the thread from the first 2 episodes all the way through.
That's fine. There are different ways to connect these universes. Yeah. It's not like he's not going to pop up in the Mandalorian universe again. That's fine. All right.
And I'm just really hopeful with this 12 episodes that we get time to develop these characters, and it almost becomes like a John LeClaire novel set inside of Star Wars. universe.
Well, here's the thing to also remember. I mean, each season of Star Wars Rebels, if you're really looking at the entire backstory of how the rebellion starts, okay, you know, the seeds that are sown and all of these different moving parts that lead into Rogue One, Episode 4, and all that. Yeah, you need time to develop that. You're not going to be able to do it in 6 or 7 episodes. So 10 to 13, somewhere in that range, yes, perfect. Little things here and there that connect. And that's what they did with like Star Wars Rebels. Even though it was kind of a little slow in the beginning, but like season 2, off to the races. Everything worked, you know, and beyond. So I agree with you on that. It looks amazing. But
yeah, the look, the sound, I think we're going to get a much deeper look at the Empire than we have in any other format or show. I think they're going to, you know, and not just when I say the Empire, not just the Emperor and Vader. I mean the actual Imperial military structure.
Right.
So I'm really excited about Andor. I'm very much looking forward to August 31st.
Well, you know, and I'm going to segue into Obi-Wan here in a moment. There's a great thing about the 20 years of, you know, the Empire, you know, between episode 3 and 4. We don't know much about it. I mean, we got a little bit through the expanded universe, you know, in books and everything, with Smuggler's Tales and whatnot. But in this current canon, no, we don't. It's still just spoken up, you know, references to stuff here and there. There's a lot that goes on, and I'm glad that they're exploring that in comics. But we need some live action that kind of leads everything, because especially the, you know, 4 or 5 years leading up to episode 4, Star Wars Rebels, Andor, everything. I feel like there's so much going on from, you know, the politics, the, you know, building up a resistance.
That's another thing that's going to be really interesting, is to see the political side of Coruscant.
Yeah.
And what you know, what leads up to the dissolution of the Senate at the very beginning of A New Hope.
Right. And we need to know that. I mean, we don't need beyond flashbacks, because it isn't just one quick thing or one battle. There are little things that lead up to it.
Yeah.
I think you have a great opportunity to connect the characters of Rebels and Andor and everything going on that will round out what that story is leading into Rogue One and Episode 4. Because I kind of look at it like this. If you understand your history, I'll use 2 perspectives. The political turmoil leading up to the Civil War, within like the 4 or 5 years leading up to the Civil War, is incredible. There's just so much going on that you know you're on the brink of something. Same thing with World War II. You know, and even though World War II started in Europe and it was years before we got into it, the seeds were being sown. And I remember a history professor talking about it was inevitable that we were going to war with Japan when they walked out of conference back in like 36. And then we started doing oil embargoes. That's when it was inevitable that we were waking up the sleeping dragon. When they refused to deal with us and everything, war was inevitable, and the politics leading up to it. There's just, my point is, there's a lot going on, and that's what we need to see in the Star Wars universe. And that's what and I feel like that's what we're gonna get with Andor. So with that said, the first 2 episodes of Obi Wan Kenobi dropped, and we kind of got our first glimpse of what life is like with the Empire, where they are 10 years after the fall of the Republic, Jedi's in hiding, where Obi-Wan is. And the 3 of us kind of had a little bit of a debate about the first 2 episodes, and we're going to get into it right now about what we liked and what we didn't like, and stuff. So if you haven't watched the first 2 episodes, there will be spoilers. We're telling you that now. So don't listen to us, mute us, whatever. But we got some things to talk about. All right. So I'm going to ask this question. Chad, I'll start with you. You weren't very excited about the first 2 episodes.
Bitch, I knew you were going to lay this at my feet. I was counting down the minutes, literally counting down the minutes. And then the news broke because I was going to stay up until 2 in the morning, whenever it dropped.
Real quick, I think that's something we should address. Disney screwed over a lot of YouTubers with that.
You think so?
Oh, I know so. There were a ton of YouTubers that had planned watch parties that all went to bed early because they're on the East Coast, and they went to bed early so they could be up at 2:00 in the morning and have a watch party and some of these people get thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people to do their watch parties with them. And they woke up and it had already been streaming for 2 hours and people had already watched it. Because Disney didn't announce that they were going to do that with any, if Disney had given them a heads up, sure. But, they just
all on that. But I also feel like I was already watching Disney Plus because they had already announced at Celebration that they were going to be able to watch it that night. And I figured what they said that night, they're probably going to drop it about 9 or 10 that night on the West Coast, which would be, for us, 2 hours ahead. So
when I got that message, when I read that message, I just assumed they meant for attendees of the Celebration.
Yeah.
I thought they were just going to screen it locally in a theater for them or something.
Well, that's what all that announcement was. That announcement was just they didn't announce that they were going to put it on Disney Plus or
I didn't read that into it at all.
I just figured I personally shit like this doesn't surprise me. That's all I'm saying. I expect to drop it early.
No, it doesn't surprise me. It was a pleasant surprise for us, but not so much for you.
At this point, it was a debacle. They screwed that up, and it's typical of Disney. But anyway, getting back beyond all that, you just like it, don't like it. Your thoughts?
Well, I was blowing up all my social media feeds. It's up, it's on. Let's go, let's watch this. I was like, yes. And then it started, and I'm like, okay. And I'm starting to tap. Okay, we keep going back and forth to this work site that Obi-Wan is at, and this, that, and the other, and it started to feel like an episode of Groundhog Day for some crazy reason.
Well, I think they were trying to do that on purpose.
Well,
to show
how mundane his life was at this point.
And how depressed he is.
Yeah. But I'll go back to the same argument I made with Moon Knight, and I may get crucified for this. I don't know, because I couldn't finish Moon Knight because it just couldn't hold my attention. But when you've only got, as we were talking earlier, 6 episodes to tell this story, where is a chase and how do we cut to it? You don't really have the luxury of holding people at bay with this mundane look inside Obi-Wan's life if you're wanting them to stick around for 6 episodes. Yes, I know the fanboys are going to watch paint dry if there's a Star Wars logo slapped on the paint can. But by the same token, don't insult the intelligence of the people that have been around since I've been around, that have been watching this thing since it started. And yes, I see you rolling your eyes, Marcus.
Yeah, but again, the first episode of anything is always setting up. Here's where we are now. This is what's going on. I never expected a lot of action in the first episode. That's why I think Disney knows that. That's why they dropped the first 2. And the second episode is all about action and Obi-Wan going back out into the field per se. I'm like,
and the character that he's engaged with, I think, is one of the most repulsive, repugnant characters they've put out there since Jar Jar Binks. This sister Inquisitor gets on my last good nerve, almost as bad as Leia does.
I actually liked her, but okay.
So here's the thing with her. I can't stand the way they've written her character, because if she's so badass and powerful and she can sense Kenobi and all this, why is it that they have to prop her up by making all the other Inquisitors talk down to her, and then she can beat them all so she can undermine? These are already established characters from Rebels, from Fallen Order, from comics. Okay, so now they're belittling her. They're calling her lesser. Remember your place. Okay. And then all of a sudden she's going to beat them. She's going to turn on them, and she's going to show them how badass she is. Well, if you want to make her a badass, and she's the third sister, which, by the way, there's a hierarchy. Mm-hmm. She technically outranks the fifth brother. Okay. This is how you set it up. And you've set it up since Rebels. Okay. Which came out. The Inquisitors have been around for 6 years now. Okay. In real life, not in the Star Wars timeline. So she outranks the fifth brother. Why is the fifth brother talking down to her? If she's so good, why isn't she the right hand of the Inquisitor? Right. You can build a character up through storytelling without having to undermine previously established characters and making and if you want to have rivalries between them, that's fine. You can write rivalries between them. But it's like every Inquisitor is buddy, and she's the outcast.
Mm-hmm.
Could it be that in the realm of storytelling, maybe you're building a redemption story for her, since she was a former Jedi, that
they are all former Jedi.
I get
that's
that.
The problem. But here's the thing, look, and I know they're doing a redemption arc, but you can still do a redemption arc by building her up without making her the outcast that is talked down to. Like the whole reason they're doing this is so that she will look more badass at the end of episode 2 when she stabs the Inquisitor in the gut, which is stupid.
Well, maybe if she's being talked down to and finally gets disillusioned with that, it just makes her redemption story better. First of all, as a storyteller, I don't have a problem with that. I think that, again, I know we all have a difference of opinion, but I look at this as minor nitpicking. She didn't bother me at all.
Well, that and the line that she does when she's trying to taunt Obi-Wan, when she's Obi-Wan, all I could hear from that was "Warriors, come out and play."
Exactly what I thought.
I was like,
Sherlock. Make a Sherlock Holmes reference. All right. I get that might be a little annoying. My perspective is this. I think these are just minor nitpicks that, in the grand scheme of things, after watching the first 2 episodes, and I've watched these from 3 times. Again,
but to me, it's a systemic thing that Disney does with Star Wars storytelling now. They can't build up. They apparently don't know how to build up a new character on their own merits without sacrificing a pre-existing character to do it.
Okay, well, that gets into my question. Do you really think the Grand Inquisitor is dead?
I hope not, but it wouldn't put it past them. I would not put it. They've already retconned their own stuff. Okay, here's why. They have said when they ditched the EU. Now, by the way, I am on record. You can go back 8-9 years ago on this show. I was not actually opposed to them ditching the EU, because for every Timothy Zahn out there, there's a Karen travesty. Travis.
I know, we've had this conversation over
right.
the years.
So I supported them ditching the EU, building up their own new EU where everything was one level, and that was the big selling point. Remember, everything was going to be one level of canon, whether it was comics, books, TVs, video games, or movies. Okay, there was none of this G canon, L canon, S canon, T canon bullshit.
Yes.
They have since retconned themselves over and over again through the books, movies, and video games. So Would I put it past them to kill off the Grand Inquisitor 5 years before he supposedly died in season 2, episode 3 of Rebels? No, I would not put it past them.
Okay, that's fair. But I will say this, and I will buy you a beer if I'm wrong, and you can tell me I told you so. Okay? I don't think that's what that is. I think all they're doing is setting it up to leading to her redemption arc, that he's not really dead. She's betrayed them. Okay. This is what's going to lead her to actually helping Obi-Wan. Okay. So I don't, also, little tidbit here. You're not going to have Rupert Friend show up at Celebration promoting the show if he's in the first 2 episodes and that's it. Okay. Clearly, Joel Egerton and Bonnie Passay, who are playing Owen and Baru Lars, are not in all 6 episodes. They're there a little bit. Are they at Celebration promoting the show? No. Which clearly is an indication that they're more minor characters that just show a connection. I just don't think he's dead. And I think we're going to see the same Inquisitor that we've seen from Rebels. So from a storytelling standpoint, I know what they're doing. I think it's obvious. And in my opinion, I don't have a problem with it. Okay.
I think it's obvious too. I just think there are better ways to do it. And
okay,
it's just become a predictable formulaic thing. Here's our new character. We're going to sacrifice old characters to make this character look more badass. And it's predictable and it's boring. And here's why I really don't like it.
That I'll agree with you.
And here's why I really don't like it. Because if Vader finds out that the Grand Inquisitor allowed himself to be stabbed and lost Kenobi by a subordinate, Vader would kill him on the spot. And we know that because he did it to the Admiral, was it Goatee or whatever his name was, at Hoth.
Yeah, get it. We get it. He has a short temper and kills people unless there's a grander plan. And it's something I was telling you before. The Inquisitors, the Emperor is known to use the Inquisitors in trying to subvert Vader. Okay, but Vader ends up becoming head of the Inquisitors anyway. I think he's going to be repurposed for 2 reasons. One, whether it's by the Emperor, Vader, or whomever, I think it is to kind of keep Vader in his place. And also, it is to show a grander plan of, yes, she is lesser. She is obviously trying to be, step out of place. She must be dealt with. That will lead to her disillusion. But if there's one thing about Star Wars, how many of these characters have redemption arcs? It happens time and time again. It's also the reason I don't have a problem with Luke in The Last Jedi, because we've seen these fucking redemption arcs and wallowing in self-pity and I'm a failure and blah, 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 time and time again. Is it boring? Sure. Can you have better stories? Yeah, I'll give you that. And I think
then here's my thing. As a fan, if we can have better stories, I'm not going to pat you on the back for putting out a worse story. You're just not going to get it from me. And you and I will forever disagree on Luke in Last Jedi, because to me, and I'm with Mark Hamill on this one. Mark Hamill took one look at that script and said, "That's not Luke Skywalker. That's Jake Skywalker." So I just can't stand the way they somebody needs to give them a copy of the hero's journey and make them friggin' read it.
I'm not going to start shitting on Obi-Wan after 2 episodes.
I'm not shitting on Obi-Wan. I'm shitting on that specific choice.
Okay.
Well, I actually like the first episode unlike Chad over here. I actually liked the first episode. I even liked the second episode right up to that point.
Hey, here's the thing about stories. There are multiple ways to arrive at the same point. That's the beauty of it. And you know why? You know what's great about that? How many times have we explored that in tabletop fantasy? That's the brilliance of being able to tell stories, is that there's not one clear way of doing it. Okay, that you can arrive. I will criticize Disney that they make safe choices for their fans, and some of the things that they're that are not as much of a priority for them turn out to be the better story. Rogue One, i.e., versus the entire sequel trilogy. Okay,
let's be honest. They don't make safe choices for their fans. They make safe choices for their bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. That is very true.
They want stuff that they do not want stuff that necessarily appeals to Star Wars fans. They want stuff that appeals to the greatest amount of people.
Well,
and I understand that from a business standpoint.
Right. But my point is, and I read some of these early reviews and shit that was going on. The one that pissed me off more than anything else is, and I don't forget the guy's name. His name is really not important, but the guy who wrote the review for Deadline. Quit reviewing this after 2 episodes. There is a reason at that nerd show that we don't review a series until it's done, because we review as a whole. Individual episodes, some are good, some are bad. Even as much as we love season 2 of The Mandalorian, there's some episodes that can be thrown away in there. Okay. But as a whole, it's fucking amazing. All right. And that's the way it should be. We're not going to review Obi-Wan until it's done. We can talk about the first 2 episodes and did they start off right and how we feel about it. And I get Chad's concerns. I do. I disagree. But, but here's my question for you, Chad. Are you completely unhappy with these first 2 episodes, leading you to not caring as much about Obi-Wan? Like, you'll watch it because you're a fan, but you've already been turned off by it?
No. I'm not turned off by it. I have, this is built on hope. I'm going to give it my undivided attention. Okay. I don't think it's a lost cause. I just, I guess my expectations were too high. Maybe that's on me. Okay. I guess my expectations were ridiculously high.
That upset. I wanted to do something for you. Okay. Because in our debate, I'm like, you two need a hug. But since we're not going to do that, I'll just do this to make you happy, Chad. Okay. If you're feeling unhappy, this is from me to you.
I tell you what, though, Marcus, I 100% agree with you that they're heading to a redemption arc for Reva. I just don't know necessarily whether or not that's going to turn out to be a good thing.
No, I mean,
because the show is called Obi Wan Kenobi after all. It's not called the Reva show.
Well, again, getting my really bold storytelling. We obviously need that. I think that's what we get with Favreau and Filoni. Okay, I think that's but it's also like we can leave these 2 guys alone. They're going to throw out something that'll probably be good. I'm looking at it as Kathleen Kennedy didn't have much expectations, and then it turned out, they actually have the best stuff. We thought the sequel trilogy and everything we wanted to do was going to be the end all of, for Star Wars fans and Disney. And when it comes to the bottom line, you're right. You're not going to make those bold choices. The bolder choices are the things that they don't really care about, that they can lose money at. But I also think they're kind of coming back around, and that's why I'm excited about the Andor series with you, is you're actually going to be able to make some more of those bolder choices. And with the Ahsoka series, that the higher up, that Kathleen Kennedy and her little team of yes people are like, we're not expecting much, we can't risk it type stuff, but we're going to leave them alone to do that. It's the higher ups interfering with the creators.
God, that pisses me off.
I agree.
Every time I think about it pisses me off.
Right. But here's the thing. That happens all the time. And if you want a great example for anybody that's watching The Offer on Paramount Plus about how they made The Godfather, perfect example. All these
just look at the story that Kevin Smith tells about trying to write the Spider-Man movie, the Superman movie for what's his face, Tim Burton, and he's like, yeah, the producer just like, by the way, you have to have a giant spider in the end of it, and he goes, why? Batman has never fought a giant. There's no giant robot spider villain in the Batman pantheon. And he's like, well, we have to have it. We have to have it. Well, he goes, well, this movie never happened. And this guy went to work on Wild Wild West, which at the end of it had what? A giant spider.
Right. Mechanical spider with technology that didn't exist in the 19th century.
Yeah.
And then,
it was John Peters he was talking about.
Right.
Yeah, John Peters.
Right. Hairdresser turned producer.
It failed upwards. That's my favorite term that he used. Apparently in Hollywood, you fail upwards.
Also, if you want to talk about shitty accents, I love Kenneth Branagh, but yeah, I don't need your deep South.
and incidentally, if you've ever seen the Superman Doomsday animated film, when Toyman breaks out at the very beginning of the thing, and he gets in a mechanical spider and starts climbing up the side of the building, there is an animated Kevin Smith that looks up and goes, "Oh, geez, that's so predictable. Lame."
So that's great. Although there is one scene in Wild Wild West I really do enjoy between Kenneth Branagh and Will Smith, and it's just the horribly racist repartee back and forth between the two of them.
God. To think that man was almost Obi Wan Kenobi,
right?
Bringing it back around,
yeah.
But here's the other thing too. Like I said, I bring up The Offer because it's a good shining example of, Coppola and Puzo, and they knew what they want. They knew what it was going to take to make this a great film, and it was all the producers and business people that kept
trying to fuck it up. They were doing everything they can. They had no faith in their filmmakers.
And this one's for Brendan. Hollywood producers are like NFL owners. The only thing you should do is
bring the money.
Bring the money. Let everybody else do their fucking job. Either
sit in your box and shut the fuck up and clap.
If you want to be a director, be a director.
Mm-hmm.
Take creative control. But if you just want to be a producer and get them what they need, just tell them, what do you need? Here's our budget. How can we do it within that? And go from there.
Can I pitch an idea? Can we do a similar story like The Offer about the making of Superman the movie, since Mario Puzo was involved in that too? Can we do that?
That could be a sequel to The Offer.
Yes.
Right.
It would have to be over on HBO Max though, because that's a Warner Brothers property. But
I'm just saying, keep throwing out about how these iconic movies got made and how the Hollywood businessmen try to fuck it up.
Yeah, you know what? Fuck that. Let's do this about George.
Like, think about it. Seriously, the only reason why The Lord of the Rings is as good as it is because it got made in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Because if that got made on a soundstage in LA,
it'd be a joke.
Oh no.
Yeah. So
it would be The Hobbit. Whoops.
Oh. Damn, that's fired. Shit.
And I actually don't hate The Hobbit as much as a lot of people do.
Just wanted to know the fucking Lord of the Rings.
But it just wasn't as good as Lord of the Rings.
No.
It's just, hey, for as much as I complain about a 3-hour Batman movie, 9 hours of The Hobbit. My dad says something about when they were making those movies. He's like, doesn't even take me 9 hours to read that book.
Look, it's that damn thick.
It's like, how much is in the appendix? Good God.
Okay. Can you imagine?
Healthcare applications are longer than the book.
So as much as Peter Jackson extrapolated out of the appendices, right? And this, imagine what's going to happen to the Lord of the Rings series.
Oh God, I'm actually kind of worried.
We'll find out here in a couple of months.
Yeah, we're getting off track here. We're getting
but anyway, when we get those screeners, that's going to be like, when is our embargo up?
I might not even watch the screeners because I don't know if I can trust myself till the embargo. I might just have to wait, binge it all real quick, and
Hey, don't make me be the editor here. Be like, Brendan, you can't say it. I'm in the middle of a tweet.
Because even if they release it 1 week at a time, what I'll do is I'll just wait until the day before our embargo is up, and then I'll just binge the whole thing. And then the next day I'll just be like, and
verbal diarrhea, just.
I've already been threatened by Julie. She gets first crack at that. Like, I'm like, okay, I don't need you trying to murder me. Like, she did that when they announced they were going to make a movie about Dune. I call dibs now. I'm like, all right.
Okay, I do want to say, speaking of Rupert Friend, getting back on topic here, I do want to say one thing real quick. I think he made a critical marketing error in the immediate week before Obi-Wan released.
Okay.
When they talked to Obi-Wan, he was like, yeah, I went back and watched the prequels. I wanted to get back into the mood, get back into the mindset. When they talked to Hayden Christensen, he goes, not only did I watch the prequels, I watched the entire Clone Wars cartoon. I love the job Matt Lanter did voicing my character, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's all great stuff. Rupert Friend comes out and goes, yeah, I didn't even watch Rebels. I wanted to put my own fresh take on it. And, dude.
Respect the source material.
Even if you didn't fucking lie.
Yeah.
Okay. Because seriously, like, I can understand as an actor, you not wanting to copy someone else. I get that 100%. But when you're talking about a IP like Star Wars,
right,
which has a huge, passionate fan base,
right,
you might as well just throw a bag of diarrhea into a high-speed fan. You're just going to get covered in shit, buddy.
And here's the thing. I'm not saying he's played a bad character. I like Rupert Friend as an actor.
I think Rupert Friend's a great actor. I'm just saying what he said was dumb.
I know.
Even if he believes it, don't say it.
I almost like, you really could have just gotten Jason Isaacs.
Yeah, that's what I don't understand.
Yeah, maybe he didn't want it. You know, there's the possibility that he just didn't want to do it.
Right.
And let's face it, Jason Isaacs has a very contentious relationship with fans of big sci-fi franchises. Yeah. It has not gone well. So, you know, him and Star Trek fans go together like oil and water after the first season of Discovery.
Yeah.
So there may have been a conscious decision to not go in that direction.
We don't need him pissing off the fans. Well,
exactly.
Yeah, like I said, you're right. Just lie. Do the same bullshit lines to the fans or whatever. It kind of reminds me. Remember when the South Park guys showed up to the Oscars and they were wearing dresses and they were just giving the same bullshit lines? Yes, the dresses are amazing. Everybody looks so great. I mean, the movies this year were great. They were just literally mocking all the ridiculous interviews. And I'm like, just do that. That's all you need to say. Let the fans cheer, sign your autographs, then go do what you want to do. Okay. But, you know, you got to applaud Hayden and Ewan McGregor for what they did and being able to go back and stuff. I'm going to say this about Hayden Christensen. I think after, 20 years, 17 years since the Revenge, the guy needs to get his due. Okay.
Oh, 100%. And by the way, that's my biggest hope for this series going forward, is that it isn't the Reva show. And look, I want to make something clear before people get on us for this. I am not mad at Moses Ingram. I never blame the actor for bad writing.
Right.
Okay. So in my opinion, the end of episode 2 was some bad writing. That is not Moses Ingram's fault.
This is also why you do table reads to figure out how it's going to work. We did one last week on one of my scripts, and Gwen Murphy, who local actor,
sure,
he was doing one of the main characters, and our friend Rebecca Evans was doing the other one. And I was talking to them about that. It's like how I feel like the line should be delivered in my head. Is this correct? Is this is where you work. And if you choose to ignore that process, that's on you as the writer and the director.
Yeah. But for me, my biggest hope going forward is that it is mostly the Obi-Wan and Vader show.
Sure.
And because look, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
I know Disney has a tendency to, forget the past, kill it if you have to. But which is maybe one of the most ham-handed, horrible lines in all of Hollywood history. But we're all here for Anakin and Obi-Wan. We're all here for Hayden and Ewan. I really hope they remember that. I really do.
Yeah, you've noticed they've changed the key art on the page for Disney Plus for the show itself. They've changed the key art now.
Oh no, what is it now?
It is. Remember how it was just that distant shot of Obi-Wan looking over his shoulder?
Yeah.
Now he's facing the camera, and Vader's leg and hand holding the saber is in the foreground.
Okay.
Go to Disney Plus right now and check that out. You're like, okay, all right. You
well, hopefully that bodes well for the next 4 or 5 weeks.
Exactly.
Well, I guess it's 3 or 4 weeks, because I guess they'll do 2 episodes, 2 weeks where it's 1 episode, and then the last week they'll do 2 episodes again. I think is how it's going to release.
No, I think it's just 1 a week. That's the release schedule I saw.
I'll take a look.
Well, anyway, but my point is, stop hating on Hayden Christensen for the prequels. He is a good actor. It wasn't him. It was shitty dialogue. And I have said this from the very beginning. The amount of work that him and Ewan McGregor put into that lightsaber duel for episode 3 is absolutely amazing. And they deserved an award for it. So I love them at Celebration, though. Because I watched it all day on Thursday. But for Hayden Christensen, if there's one thing you can say, this is where the fun begins.
And Marcus, like, we've been talking about the prequels for years, and our complaints about the prequels were never about Hayden Christensen. They've always been about just, bad dialogue.
Right.
Like, we always thought The Phantom Menace was really an unnecessary movie, that Attack of the Clones should have been episode 1. And episode 2 should have happened halfway between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. But other than that, there are things to like about episode 1. I've always loved the Obi Wan detective noir kind of theme to his storyline in Attack of the Clones. And then, of course, you get the big Braveheart style battle at the end of Attack of the Clones, which who doesn't like that?
Sure.
And then, I thought Revenge of the Sith was that movie. To me, that's the only trilogy of movies where the movies got progressively better instead of progressively worse.
I would like to see the 4-hour version of that movie, though.
Of Revenge of the Sith?
Yeah.
I would love to. Yeah.
I'd have to stand in a kiddie pool because I'd be pissing myself all
Well,
there's a fucking image I didn't need today.
Yeah, thank you, Chad.
You're welcome. You're welcome, sir.
I'm about to go drink anyway, so I'll watch that.
By the way, you are correct. It's going to be 1 a week for the next 4 weeks. June 1st, June 8th, June 15th, and June 26th. So it goes to Wednesdays. We don't have to wait a whole week.
Yeah.
It shifts back to the Wednesday release schedule.
Say about Hayden Christensen, we don't have any complaints about you at that nerd show. In fact, beer's on us, and I'm glad that they were able to bring you back. The end of episode 2. I'm sorry, I geeked out at that very last scene, and I thought they did a great job.
With the Vader scene? Yes.
Jesus.
Yeah, I was like...
I man cried a little bit. I did man cry a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I was like, yes!
We geeked out, yes.
I mean, come on.
I know Chad didn't like 10-year-old Leia. I thought she was adorable. And I was thinking about my niece and nephew. I'm like, good for you. You wrote a character.
I liked her, except one bit.
Sure.
There was one thing. Can you show a little fear?
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Was okay. Kid actor,
like that, like her being very perceptive and being able to see through bullshit at her age. I'm fine with that. Like that. Okay, that's
You're
fine.
force sensitive. Yeah, I get that too.
And not only is she force sensitive, but unlike Luke, where Luke is living a very sheltered existence as a farm boy in the backwoods of nowhere, she's being educated. She's being brought up into the
he's going to
upper crust of society. She's being trained to be a senator. So for the fact that she's getting all this education plus her natural ability allows her to be very observant, very perceptive, very insightful. No problem with any of that. Actually really liked her right up until the point where she's getting shot at and showing absolutely no fear.
Well, and I get that, but the other thing too is, like, my little minor nitpick is, well, I get the dialogue when she is older than her age, and Obi-Wan's like, how old are you? Like, how old she is.
You know how old she is.
Well, yes. I didn't have a problem with that because I always thought I thought he was asking it sarcastically. Like, he knows how old she is, but he's like,
I know that's what they're playing at and everything. Yeah. Because the delivery works. I mean, just like when they finally get to the hangar and He was like, I used to know someone like you. She was fearless too and stubborn. I'm not stubborn. Yes, you are.
You are. Hey, I'm with you, Brendan. Like, she showed more fear in Empire when the Minoc was sucking the window than she did in this freaking episode when she's getting shot at.
Okay, that's fine. But can we all agree that the worst scene in episode 2 was when Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers got killed? Come on, we don't kill Flea.
I just thought it was hilarious that they got Flea high. Like, how'd they have, like, that they didn't really have to get him to act there. There was just,
oh, he's so method.
Yeah.
He slammed a bowl right before that scene, and then it was.
I always mispronounce the actor's name, but the guy from he was playing the fake Jedi in the episode.
Kamal Nanjiani.
Thank you. I thought he was great. He was hilarious, and you know it. To me, that episode worked. It really did. So, but I get the complaints. And I will be the first to say, like, if you fucking screwed this up, we're going to rip you apart in 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we'll see. All right. We got a few more things to mention. And then we got to close this out because things are going on. All right. One of the things they did drop at Celebration was the trailer to the Willow series, which is coming out November 30th. And I am psyched.
It looks really good.
It looks amazing. I'm glad that they're actually doing that because Willow is something that needs to be revisited. Man, I'm fucking glad they got Joanne Wally to come back. God, and with red hair. That was one of my early crushes. I love Starship. So I don't know how they're going to play out the Mad Max.
Yet another reason to be envious of Val Kilmer.
Good God, yes. I don't know how they're going to play out his story or whatever, but it looks really good. There's one thing you got to do right. One thing. And if you fuck this up, we will complain and maybe riot. But if you don't have Kevin, what's his face back?
Kevin Nealon?
Yeah.
Kevin Nealon and Kevin Pollak.
Kevin Pollak. Thank you.
Yeah.
Back is the little the little guy. You got to have him make an appearance. I'm sorry. Or this just doesn't work. But it does actually look really good, although they can screw it up, but we'll see. I'm just glad that they're doing a Willow series. I'm actually, like the Turner and Hooch series they did that had kind of an interesting connection to the original movie. I mean, it was cute, but I also get why they canceled it after one season. It wasn't as good as the movie, and it doesn't really work if you don't have Tom Hanks. But I feel like this is one of those things that is definitely can work, and I'm glad that Disney's bringing it back. So, anything else from Celebration? Any of the announcements that you guys are really excited about?
Curious about Skeleton Crew. They were really vague about that.
Well, so what I've heard about Skeleton Crew, Chad, is it's going to be it's when they say it's a movie about kids that's not for kids, think like the 1980s Amblin movies that were coming of age stories like Stand By Me. Stand By Me is a movie with kids that's not for kids. Like
I saw it described as Stranger Things set in the Star Wars universe.
Right. See, I've heard that, but not from a reliable source.
Yeah.
So the only thing I've heard from reliable sources is it's kind of like the coming of age tales of the Amblin movies in the 1980s. So movies with kids, but not necessarily for kids.
Right.
And that's why I bring up the Stand By Me movie with Will Wheaton and Jerry O'Connell and River Phoenix, because that movie had very adult themes that was really not for children, even though a lot of children saw it.
Basically, more or less.
But yeah, so we'll see what happens. That could be interesting. I'm waiting to see. There was a panel today. I forget what panel was today that was supposed to be interesting.
Look, I love Jude Law. I mean, I've loved him in the Fantastic Beasts movies as a younger version of Dumbledore. So I mean, it looks like you're already starting off with some good casting. But we'll see. To me, I hear Skeleton Crews and I'm like, well, that sounds like filler until something. But also, big announcement next February, my birthday month, we'll get Mandalorian season 3. So,
Yep.
Excited about that. There's just an awful lot coming out, and it's gonna be awesome.
I'm wondering why we haven't heard anything about the Bad Batch season 2, because that was supposed to come out back in like February. Like they had actually released a date for it, and then they scrubbed it real quick. And
I thought that was coming out later this summer. That's the last thing I heard about it.
Right, and but then they haven't said anything about it at Celebration. There hasn't been a trailer or anything. There's a Mando panel that happens in about 28 minutes. The Mando conversation with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni happens at 2 p.m. Eastern time, 1 p.m. Central. Okay. Then there's behind the scenes of Mando and Boba Fett at 4 o'clock Eastern.
Well, there's a lot going on. We're going to continue to do coverage. And while we didn't make the full...
there's a Bad Batch panel tomorrow. Sorry.
We didn't do the full list of announcements from Celebration in this month's magazine issue. We needed to get it out. We'll have some more roundup and announcements over the next few weeks and stuff like that. All right. With that said, lots of exciting things coming out of Celebration. As we mentioned earlier, yeah, cool. Indiana Jones next year. We'll see what it is.
Well, and we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Jedi Survivor. We probably
that's.
I love Harrison Ford, but I'm actually more excited about you being in Yellowstone 1932, which kudos to that.
Helen freaking Mirren, for God's sake.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow. Now, I was excited, but now I'm really fucking excited. For Bob,
he was here for about a week last week.
Yeah, and for those of you that do not know, they have starred together in a movie called Mosquito Coast back in the 80s. It was not very well received, although Harrison Ford does talk about it as one of his favorite roles. And
he was with River Phoenix?
Yes, River Phoenix played his son.
Yep.
It is actually a very interesting movie. And, oh, God, Helen Mirren. Yeah. Gorgeous. So, anyway, and like I said, we will definitely be checking it out next year and see what that's all about. But we'll bring you out more news. And all right, one final question. I'm going to let you go. All right, are we taking bets on what episode Liam Neeson's going to show up as Force Ghost Qui-Gon Jinn? Because you know it's happening.
You can't telegraph that any more obviously in that recap at the beginning.
Well, not only that, but it'll be the very end. I think it'll be the very last scene of the show.
Yeah. By the way, could you do foreshadowing even any more obvious?
No.
Well, and then there's the whole thing about Liam Neeson completely over the top denying that he's been in it, like comically so, like to the point where I don't even pay attention to Star Wars. I don't like. Are they doing a new show? Like, and it's like, come on, dude.
Hey, Brendan, it's like me saying, I'm not going to drink this afternoon.
Sure, Andrew Garfield, you're not in Far From Home. Or No Way Home, excuse me.
I would like to say one real quick thing, since it is Memorial Day weekend. I know, and this is for other people and then for veterans as well. I know a lot of veterans get weirded out by being thanked for their service on Memorial Day because it's Memorial Day and it's not for those who didn't make it home. Yeah. So what I would like to say to people who aren't veterans and then to people who are veterans, when you're thanked, just be polite because they mean well. Just say thank you, but then offer this suggestion, and I'll now offer it to anybody out there. If you really want to thank somebody this weekend and you know a family that lost somebody in the last 20 years, thank a Gold Star parent. Go thank a parent who lost a child this weekend.
Very true. All right. That's about it for our show this weekend. Again, lots more to talk about, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks, probably discussing more Obi-Wan. Yeah, go finish out what's happening in Star Wars Celebration. I also want to do one quick mention, though. Former writer, content provider, Daniel Granite. He was just a wee young Padawan when he started writing for us in high school, but he's got some of the best cosplay out there. Go check out Retro Rebel on Instagram and all that. He's got one of the most kick-ass Mandalorian outfits, and he did spend a few $1,000s on it. So he was featured in this month's magazine as one of the best of Star Wars cosplay. You should also check out Hypnotic Heather, who does a really great Cara Dune. Check out her pages, and she actually does look like Gina Carano. And then Robert Butler, who is Darth Vader VTX and one of the best Darth Vaders here in the local Dallas area. But I know like Daniel's out there at Celebration on the floor, and if you're out there, go say hi to him. He's always family here at That Nerd Show, and always great to be brought back in the fold a little bit and provide some of his great cosplay.
Hell, I wouldn't even recognize him at this point if he hadn't told me that was him.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, I always feel a little bit of pride that we took him to his first burlesque show at an all.
I remember that. Yeah.
When he was about 18.
Yeah, his eyes were like dish saucers. They were.
That's how we do things. But yeah, he was with us when we did. Remember when we did Guardians of the Galaxy? We went on a Thursday night. It was kind of a promo thing. We weren't expecting much. He actually bought the Rocky the Raccoon to be on his shoulder. We loved it so much. We did a 7:00 show. We bought tickets and went and saw it again. Fuck yeah, the movie was great. Anyway,
and now he's cosplaying as Star-Lord. How funny is that?
Oh yeah. He started doing that way back in the day. So I got to give him a shout out. But anyway. It is time to say goodbye, everybody. Have a great Memorial Day weekend.
Bye, everybody.
Take care, guys.